this is what the Giants are good at, though. This is what they're good at. Yeah. Think about it. At one point, they had Odell. They had a prime Odell. They had Saquon. Right? They had a really decent team at one point. But what they do is they develop for others. So this is where you come get developed so others can take advantage. Hello and welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of the Think RBA podcast. I am your host, Hack, and here with my brother from another, sir. Hey, yo, my man Chico. Sir, I'm going to forget your real name soon. We're just going to go officially with the Chico. And instead of even wearing Coach on the back, I need you to start wearing the word Chico. Let me just go by Coach Chico.
Coach Chico might work too.
That sounds right. It has a nice flow to it.
A nice flow. Yeah.
And I can be Coach OK, be Coach Chico, and we go with that. But sir, let me start off by saying all I do is win, right? Because Kansas City, my man, my friend is undefeated, the only last undefeated team left. And not only are they undefeated, you know when they say the rich get richer? They're in a situation where the rich are about to get or got richer, right? Not only are you undefeated, you brought in extra ammunition, right? And not just like the small guns, you brought in some big guns, right? The heavy artillery.
Yep.
So, sir, please break us down. What's going on? Did they find the cheat code? Did they figure out the password like we used to back in the day on our Nintendo consoles?
Wow.
What's going on?
You're dating yourself.
I am. I still remember the password to Contra.
Just in case anybody doesn't know what we're talking about DeAndre Hopkins, D-Hop, getting traded to Kansas City. As you said, the rich get richer. It's just not fair. You know what I mean? It's not fair. But honestly, it is fair, right? And for me, I give a lot of props and kudos. Kansas City, the way they've managed their cap situation, right? They've been able to do this and build a consistent winner. Number one, through creative contracts with Mahomes. That's number one. Mm-hmm. But also, two, they haven't been afraid to let guys walk. They let Tyreek Hill walk in free agency, which would have tied up a crazy amount of money. Last year, L'Jarius Sneed, their top corner, they were like, look, we like you. Go get your money somewhere else because we're not going to tie that much money up into one position.
So we like you, but we don't love you.
I don't think it was that. I think it was just more, it's like anybody, right? We got a budget. And what am I going to spend my money on, right? Am I going to spend, more money on X versus Y? And they had a limit. I mean, like I said, for me, it's kudos to them because whatever their plan is for how they budget on what they're going to spend on players, they've been very disciplined to stick to it. And then when you are disciplined and you don't overshoot, I don't want to say overpay, right? Because look, I'm in the belief that whatever somebody pays you is like you can't say you overpaid them, right? You were worth it, whatever they paid you. So, but they stay disciplined enough that it gives them the flexibility to make a move like this, right? To be able to pull in, a D-Hop. And it's like, it sounds kind of crazy, but also, too, it was very much needed, right? They lost their number one receiver in Rasheed Rice, right? So this was a move that was needed. And I think, especially with Mahomes, right? Post Tyreek Hill, he's not so much the F it Tyreek down there somewhere deep ball thrower that he used to be, right? Now he's been a little bit more methodical. D-Hop is a great possession receiver, right? He'll get open beyond the sticks. And he's crafty with what he does to get open. That's all Mahomes, and that's all Mahomes needs, So first and foremost, I think, again, kudos to Kansas City for being disciplined with their cap situation. Normally a top team like that has a small window because guys start coming up for contracts and you got to pay them and you can't pay everybody. But again, because they haven't been afraid to let people walk in past years, it sets them up so that they can continue to field a good team. They draft well, right? They're just an excellent front office all the way around. And so, if I'm Mahomes, I was just going to say real quick, if I'm Mahomes, it's like Christmas morning, right? Yeah. Christmas came early.
And also, we're letting guys go, basically setting a tone, right? You're setting this we're not afraid to let Tyreek go. So if you're on this squad, you better get in line, right? Because we let you go too. If we let a guy of that caliber go, I mean, who are you, right? You here to win chips, or you here to get, right? If you want to go just get money, you're here to get money, then go get it somewhere else. We're here to win.
Yeah. Well, it also helps too. Like Mahomes is much more in the Brady mold, right? Where Brady always took slightly less. Like we're not talking about taking way beneath market value, but he always took a little bit less so that his team could build a winner around him. And I think Mahomes has come into that from the same kind of mindset of like, look, he could go get $1 billion contract right now. Like any team is going to pay up for that. But he knows that, okay, they're not going to be able to put anybody around me. So, let me just take a little bit less. And that way we can acquire D-Hop's salary, right? I mean, that's the type of moves that just affords. So, kudos to all of them. And hey, man, the rich get richer. Isn't that the way of the world?
They're right in tune with the way of the world.
Right.
All right. Well, in regards to guys moving and coming back and letting go, we have the team Tyreek Hill went to when they got let go, right? Their quarterback went out for a little bit, and now he's on his way back from what it seems like from the concussions, and there were talks about potential retirement and whatnot, but he's about to come back, and I'm sure a lot of eyes are going to be on him. So what do you foresee with Tua coming back, and how does that impact Tyreek? Because, my God, Tyreek has not been non-existent.
Well, their offense as a whole has been non-existent. I think they're averaging like 12 points a game. I mean, it's been really, really bad. Definitely worse than the league. I think Tyreek, the quote was, or the headline was, he was so happy he cried. That Tua was coming back. So we know where Tyreek stands and all of that. It'll be interesting to see how things play out on the field. But I will say this, because we talked about it. We did a little, quick little chat about the whole Tua situation, whether he should come back, whether he shouldn't, and all of that. Interesting enough, timing wise, we talked in the past about how I coach youth football. I saw my first real concussion up close and personal on Saturday for one of my players. Now it kind of shook me a little bit more because it's one thing to see things on TV, and now this was not as bad as like where we see his hand cramp up and involuntary movements and stuff. But looking into somebody's face and them being just kind of like out there in space somewhere, especially a kid like that, it was a little rough. So, and this was one where this kid is so tough. I mean, he's a freaking tank. Like he's our best player for sure. And he runs with so much force that when he got tackled, his head hit the turf and he was out of it for a little bit. So just saying that to say, like, having seen it up close and personal, it's not a comfortable thing to see or to deal with. So, but at the end of the day, right, like as Tua said, he's grown. It's his decision. I think they asked him about if he'd wear a Guardian cap, and he said no. It's my decision. And that's at the end of the day, like that's what it is. We can all have opinions. We can all have thoughts on it. It's up to him, his faith, his discussions with his family, and then ultimately, him as a person, as a man, and what he wants to do. And we all don't really have a say in the matter, no matter how strongly we may feel about it. But I definitely have like even more genuine concern that I have, because again, it's so different seeing it
up close
on TV versus seeing it up close and personal. It had me shook a little.
Well, we hope for the best, right, when he comes back, because that's the last way you ever want to see anybody go out or even just have to live their life with that risk of what tomorrow holds. Will that be normal, quote unquote, normal tomorrow?
Right.
So all the best to Tua. Another return, Bryce Young coming back.
It's crazy.
Is this through process of like elimination?
Well, I mean, it's a reminder that life comes at you fast and you never know what's going to happen, because the only reason he's coming back is because Andy Dalton was in a car accident. We see car accidents, or we hear about car accidents all the time. We're driving down the road. We see, an accident. Sometimes they're really bad. Sometimes they're not. Like, if we don't know who's involved in it, it's just another accident. But it's just a reminder that like life comes at you fast. These athletes they're not exempt from the real world too, even though they might live a little differently than us. Right. They're not exempt from real world stuff. And so definitely, just hope that Andy will be all right in the long term. I don't recall how significant it was, but again, significant enough that he can't play. And so, with that being said, with Bryce, like this is your shot, right? This is that lose yourself. You got one shot, one opportunity, right? Like you have to capitalize on this. And as sucky as that seems to say, when the guy you're replacing, just got into a car accident, you have to, especially if you're Bryce Young, you have to capitalize on this moment, improve your play. Because if you don't in your second shot, because this is actually his second shot, he didn't get one shot. He's getting his second shot, and he's probably gone if he doesn't improve. That's just the reality of the situation. He's probably gone and off to somewhere else, and he'll still get another shot somewhere else because he was a number 1 overall pick because of his history and career at Alabama. Like he's gonna get another shot if it doesn't. But this is a window of opportunity for him now that he has to capitalize on. It's no different than other players. When the starter gets injured, look at Christian McCaffrey, right? Christian McCaffrey, number 1 player in fantasy football, number 1 ranked player in the league. Like he's going to come in and tear up the league. Well, unfortunately, he tore up his knee. So you got who? Jordan Mason. Nobody was talking about a Jordan Mason before the season, but you step up and then you make the most of the opportunity, and that's exactly what Bryce is going to have to do now.
Right. And then this also validates the whole point when you say, stay ready so you got to get ready, right? Because anything can happen. Life can come at you fast. And if you haven't been putting in the work, now you're in an awkward position, right? So you don't want to be in that position.
And for Bryce, it's like the urgency is increased to a different level because he was the starter, got benched, and now he's getting another opportunity, right? That's different than a Jordan Mason who's like, okay, I just got to prepare for my first opportunity.
Right.
Then you're getting a second chance. You get sense of urgency's got to be critical for Bryce Young.
Well, once again, we'll hope for the best for him as well, right? Like for everybody else. So we'll see what happens. And I want to talk to you about one more transaction per se, and then I'm going to get to some fun stuff real quick. So Hassan Reddick, the holdout's over. The Jets are finally in a better place, I hope, without a coach still.
They still lost to the Steelers after picking up Devontae. They didn't just lose; they got crushed.
They got crushed.
Hopefully, Hassan will improve. I mean, they've already got a good defense, and they were looking forward to his addition all offseason. It was a long holdout. I don't remember the last holdout that was this long.
Wasn't Jonathan Taylor's holdout really long?
It was pretty long too. I just don't recall exactly how long it was. But either way, at the end of the day, I mean, they have a lot of ground to make up. I think they're 2-5 or something, 2-5 or 2-4. I mean, they were 2-1 at one point. They've been on a losing streak, and Hassan is not going to solve all the problems. Just like Devontae wasn't going to solve. We talked about it last week, right?
Right.
He can come in and he's going to do his part, but
it's a team
he's
sport.
not going to. Yeah, he can't solve all the problems. So, but I do think Hassan's here. Hey, look, he's a hell of a player, and he's going to make an impact immediately on that defense.
Okay. I won't say that the Jets should do well because I'm not a big Jets. But some fun stuff real quick.
Well, before we do the fun stuff, can we talk about one more thing?
Sure.
I know that we kind of, as we were kind of going through our notes, we didn't talk about this, so I'm going to throw a curveball here in our conversation about Tua and the concussions. That's thinking about injuries, right? Because there are a lot of guys who got injured. I mean, this season there's been a lot of guys who've gotten injured.
Yeah.
But we saw Ayuk go down for the season. Godwin's down for the season. Godwin and Evans got hurt in the same game. We're going to talk about that. But then there was another kind of controversial one that really has been in the news a lot, and I think we'd be remiss if we didn't talk about it, and that was Deshaun Watson.
Yeah.
Deshaun Watson going down, and oh man, so I watch, right? 7 hours, commercial-free football, and they showed the replay because they weren't sure what happened. We just knew it was non-contact, and anytime that it's non-contact, we don't know, but right? It's an Achilles, it's an ACL, right? And so they showed the replay immediately to see what it was, and they played it in slow-mo, and you can see it pop in the back of his leg. It's a gross visual, but you could see the Achilles literally pop as he tried to plant his leg back.
Man, that's sorry for him.
That's not the news though. The news is while this all was happening, he's been getting booed. He continued to get booed by the Cleveland fan base through the injury, continued to get booed while he was off the field to the point where Jameis Winston, I know if you haven't seen it, if anybody hasn't seen it, there's a lot of clips of his post-game interview where he was passionately talking about how unacceptable it was for how Deshaun has been treated because he knows the work that Deshaun puts in behind the scenes. But there's a lot of discourse and kind of firestorm on these opinions because you've got some people that are like, I have no sympathy for him based off of his history, especially his more recent history right before he came to Cleveland, right? Where obviously there were, 20 plus, 23, 24 allegations of sexual assault and whatnot that were levied against him. And then, he settled all of those, I think, or almost all of those. Settlement is not supposed to mean guilty, but a lot of people take it as guilt, right? So there's just a lot of fire starters, a lot of people that dislike him immensely and use that opportunity to celebrate, like karma was happening. And then there were others who were more empathetic, upset about the treatment, upset that his season was coming to an end. If you take all that out, just to see where I land, I don't condone any of the allegations that were made against him. I don't know the extent to what any of that is true. I do believe that there's three sides to every story. There's one side, the other side, and the truth, which is usually somewhere in the middle. I don't think it's a clear cut, one was right and the other is wrong. But to the extent of that, I don't know. So I'm not going to really speculate or comment on that side. I'm not going to say that I hate him. I'm not going to say that I particularly was a fan of him either, right? But what I will say is, factually speaking, he had not been playing good football, number one. It seemed clear to me that I don't think the people blocking for him really buy into him. Maybe Jameis does because he's in the quarterback room with him all the time. But it just seemed like there's something off. Like it just... I think you can kind of tell, and that's why the Browns have, I think they're like 1-5 or something like that. Factually, he was not playing good football. That's not a reason to celebrate, somebody popping their Achilles and going through the process that he's about to go through with that. I mean, I don't think you celebrate any injury, no matter how much you may not like a player. I think celebrating injuries is disgusting behavior, in my opinion. But nonetheless, I think at the end of the day, there's somewhere to land in the middle of all of the discourse, right? I can view what the allegations as reprehensible, but also not be happy he got hurt. You know what I mean? So I don't know. That's kind of where I'm at on it. I don't know about you.
Well, there's a lot to unpack there, my friend.
I know.
But without really getting too deep into it, I'll try to keep it a surface level as much as possible. I completely agree, right? We don't condone that type of background, those actions that he did. And as far as the person on the field who suffered an injury, and that as gruesome as you just kind of described, to celebrate another person's pain and to be happy about it, I find that to be probably the lowest form of human behavior, or one of the lowest forms of human behavior, to be happy at another person's pain and to feel joy in that, regardless of whoever it is, right? That's not who, like raising our kids, right? That's want to build with character, and you don't find pleasure in something like that. You don't, because it can very well also be on the other foot, and you may, right? If you want to talk about karma, there's karma right there. All right, he got what he deserved. Now, if I'm laughing at him, what do you think I'm going to get back? Let's just, right? If we're going by simple logic, common sense,
yes.
If I laugh at another's pain, well, guess what's going to happen to me?
Yeah.
So I would say I would steer away from that. I did see something about Myles Garrett also addressing fans and being unhappy with their behavior towards Deshaun. So I don't know what the inner relationships are in that locker room, but I do know that if certain teammates stand up for you, there's some level of trust. If not with everybody, with somebody. So, and just again, forget the players, forget the names and the sport and the limelight. Just basic human decency, right? If you just go back to the core basics. And I just boil it down to that, and then I boil it down to what if this happened to me or a loved one, right? Simple as that. If one were to do that, I think the entire stadium should at that point become quiet.
Yeah.
But again, that's me.
You got to put all the positive karma out there. I can't put negative karma out there.
Because that's what I want back to me, right? Simple as that. So what I'm going to say is for Deshaun Watson as a human being and as a person who's a human being in pain, hopefully your recovery is, you have a good recovery and you're able to come back and to the sport that you love and worked hard towards. Mm-hmm. And I'm sorry, like this is the arena that you stepped into where this comes with the territory, unfortunately. Mm-hmm. Right? But again, if you play well and hopefully you're able to get that second Michael Vick chance, right? Maybe you'll get that. I don't know if it'll ever happen. Maybe it will, but you just got to work at it, continue going, live your life, right? Try to be a better human being than you were, and just kind of let that karma play its role and go from there. That's all I can say with that.
Boom. I love it. Mic drop.
All right. So now, can we step away from some of the somber stuff and go a little?
Yes, definitely.
Okay. So actually, no, before I go there, I want to ask you a question. Imagine you are on the Atlanta Falcons. All right. Imagine you're a player on the Atlanta Falcons. Now, what position would you like to play? I let you pick. What would be your position as an Atlanta Falcon?
Like as I am now? Or
your dream position you want to play on the Atlanta Falcons, the football team.
I mean, look, you got to go quarterback, right? I mean, that's the only answer.
Okay, so you want to be QB, right? Imagine you were an Atlanta Falcon QB.
Okay.
Imagine you're in the locker room. You're going through your game day drills and whatever it is that your daily routine is, right? Now imagine, so your teammates are around you, right? You all just chopping it up, whatever. Some are lifting, some are this, some are that. And imagine this group of civilians down the hall staring into your locker room because they're on a stadium tour. Mm-hmm. And they're strolling through the locker room, kind of like in your workspace, technically, right? They have instructions not to bother you guys, but still they're there and, you can't be you fully. So how would one in that situation scenario hypothetically feel? How would you feel about that? What is your take on that?
How does that even happen?
This is daily.
How does that even happen? First of all, I mean, the one thing I've constantly heard, it's hard to imagine because you're not an NFL player, but like the one thing that I've heard is that the locker room is like the sanctuary. It's the safe space, right? Like, and so I can only imagine how uncomfortable it could be for that period of time until they left.
Correct. So you would not be a fan of this situation, is what I'm gathering.
I would not. The stadium tour should be done when the players are not around.
Okay. So I want to bring this around now to something that actually did happen, very similar to what I just described. And this is a frequent occurrence in the Dallas Cowboys Stadium, where fans regularly go through, and the players are now upset with this being such like a regular thing. And they feel like this is something that should be taken away or stopped, at least like you said, during company hours, right? Work hours.
Or just like when the players are there, right? If they're not scheduled to be there, then all right, run some tours. Like, how much money do you need, Jerry? Come on now. How much money do you need?
Right. So Jerry's pretty adamant on his tours because that's his, I guess he feels that's a way to connect with the community. But again, I mean, you're right there while this guy's working.
No, I mean, it's fine. I agree with you.
You're with the players.
Oh, of course, 100%. Like, I'm with the tours, right? Like, when we went down to Atlanta, me and D, like, the stadium tour was one of the best experiences that we've had as Falcons fans, but like, not at the expense of the players, right? Like, you schedule them on days and times where they're not going to be around. Like, it's why I don't understand how that's
right. And these fans are instructed, right? If you see a player, don't take a picture, don't stop, don't talk. But again, it's still that uncomfortable. Like, it's like you at your job, right? I walk up with a bunch of civilians. It's almost like a zoo, right? There's so-and-so.
I mean, I don't care what they're instructed. I guarantee you it happens regularly because fans get wild when they see their favorite players. There's no way somebody's seeing CeeDee Lamb or Dak Prescott and saying, "Oh, I'm not going to take a picture or ask them a question."
Right. Or like forget even like a kid. How excited would a kid get? Right? Imagine D saw Bijan Robinson in that locker room. Right. So and kids are kids.
That's crazy.
So this happened recently, and I was like, man, come on, like, why is this even a thing? Like, have the tour, have it when it's an off time, right? No game scheduled.
Sure.
Why during work hours? That's all my question was.
You don't need that money, Jerry.
You got too much money, Jerry. So, all right, next question, or the next topic real quick is throwback. Old school meets new school, or a version of it. Not meets, but recreates it. So you got Justin Jefferson, Ant-Man, Anthony Edwards. They recreated the classic KG Randy Moss scenario. What are your thoughts on it, man? I heard there were some interesting comments made during that conversation.
I loved it.
About crossover sports.
Oh, no, yeah, I loved it. I thought it was top notch. It is crazy, the similarities of having the two young stars in both leagues in the same city again. And I think what was interesting was Ant talking about if he gets a chip in the NBA, that he's going to come play football. He played high school football as well. Yeah, like that. I could see Ant as somebody who could potentially transition to the football field. Like he's built, I think he's built like that.
No position.
I could definitely see it happening. Probably receiver, tight end.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah. But no, I mean, I love the shoot. Like some of the behind the scenes video, right? They were throwing a football into a basketball hoop and like, they're just so like, you can just tell like how top tier athletes they are. The fact that they both were making it with ease, right? Like both Ant and Jay Jettis. So yeah, I loved everything about it. And I would love to see Ant. I would love to see Ant or somebody from the NBA come into the NFL mid-career. Like, can you imagine? You know, Ant already gets some similarities to MJ. Can you imagine if he takes 2 years off to go play football in the middle of his prime? Like, for real.
Well, so if that's the case, then I would imagine that Justin Jefferson also thinks he can go play basketball.
I mean, I didn't hear that. I didn't hear that part of the conversation, but I mean, I think I don't know how tall he is. The problem with NFL players is that generally the tallest NFL players are going to be like a shooting guard, right? Like, except for some of the guys, like you get some tight ends that are like Kyle Pitts, right? He's a tall tight end. He's 6'6". 6'6" in the NBA is not tall. You know, you're talking about an average size guard or wing, you know, versus, you know, you're not going to have guys that are 6'10" really in the NFL like that. I don't think there's anybody. I mean, not that I can think of Johnson, maybe. No, I think he was like 6'8", 6'7".
Okay, yeah, I don't know.
I mean, I could be getting that all. I could be getting that all wrong too. He was tall, but he wasn't like freakishly tall.
Well, for that sport, you're right. But I don't know. If there's one crossover athlete I think could have done it, maybe it was Calvin Johnson. Who knows? Megatron.
He was 6'5".
Okay, 6'5".
So that just goes to show you.
Yeah. So I don't know. But it's interesting to hear that crossover conversation once again. One athlete on a sport thinking they can transition to the other. And I don't know if they'll be as successful, but it'd be it's a great conversation to have, just general.
Right.
All right, sir. Let's move on to I know we had a lengthy discussion there, but let's try to quickly go through our regular, get your expertise, get your thoughts, and keep it moving. So we're on week 8, right? We're almost at the midpoint. Next week will be midpoint.
Yep.
All right. So before we get to the midpoint, week 8, who are your biggest winners, biggest losers? What's going on?
My biggest winner, the Washington commits. Like, no.
Again?
No, I'm joking. I mean, I've said that a lot lately. They did win 40-7, right? With Jaden Daniels getting hurt in the first quarter, but it was against the Panthers, and the Panthers let Marcus Mariota, formerly of Atlanta, come in and go 18-23 for 200 yards and 2 touchdowns. So they still put up a 40-burger at home. I mean, they are a high-scoring, electric team, but Jaden Daniels, what is his availability? He's considered week to week. We don't know. So my biggest winner, I would say, for me is the Broncos. The Broncos went on Thursday Night Football last week, went into New Orleans, and New Orleans was starting a rookie quarterback, but so were the Broncos. I expected it to be a little closer, but they came in and just dominated. Starting in the second quarter, by halftime, they were up 16-3, and they ended the game 33-10. For me, I think they're the biggest winner because now they put themselves in, I believe, the second place in their division behind the Chiefs. Like, if the playoffs ended today, they would be in, right? And so that was an important win. They're right above the Chargers. They're above the Raiders, right? So keeping pace in that division over Los Angeles and over the Raiders, is critical for them to potentially get into the playoffs. So to me, that was a huge win for them to go, kind of on the road Thursday night football and get that win. But some of the other ones, I think I would kind of like honorable mention, because we talked about some of the big games that were going to be coming up, right? So like the Packers pulled out a 2-point win over the Texans. Both of them had similar records. Now they're both 5-2. Who else? The Lions and Vikings, right? Great game. Lions pulled it out in the end, right? Vikings were 5-0. Lions gave them their first loss, right? But also, too, now they're right neck and neck at the top of that division. So that was a huge win for the Lions, especially coming off of the mollywhopping they gave to the Cowboys. I'm going to bring that one back.
And back to the words again.
And then, so those were some of the bigger ones that were out there.
Okay. Loser? Biggest loser? Carolina? Keep it moving.
Carolina, the Patriots, the Browns,
okay,
they're all pretty bad. The Giants. I was traumatized because the score of the Eagles-Giants game was 28-3. So I was a little traumatized. Honestly, to me, I'm going to say the biggest loser was the Jets. All the hype for Devontae coming in and how this is going to be different, and blah, 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 blah. At halftime, it was 15-10. I'm sorry, 15-13. Jets had a 2-point lead. And what did they do in the second half? Goose egg. It's just one of those games. I know you're in Pittsburgh, but Russell Wilson starting for the first time. They made him look really, really, really good for his first start. And they're now 2-5, and they got a lot of ground to catch up, like we said about earlier. So to me, I think that's a game. If the Steelers lose that game, okay, they're 4-3, they're still in the mix. The Jets would have been 3-4. Now you put yourself even further away. This whole 2-year or multi-year experiment with getting Aaron Rodgers and building the super team so far has not produced the results that they've wanted. So I think for me, you got to go in and you got to find a way to win that game with all the hype around Devontae coming in.
So I think it's called the curse of New York, right? There's only one good team in New York, or one was a better main team that was the good team, the team that had the Super Bowl, multiple.
I was going to say, there's no good team in New York right now.
Not right now. The Bills are good. Yeah.
They're just not, they're not considered a New York team. That's all.
That's it. Right. So maybe just end the season.
We're getting dangerously close to that territory.
Right. All right. Unexpected performances. Who shocked you?
The unexpected performance.
Denver shocked you.
I think Denver was one for sure. Yeah, I don't think there was any others really. I mean, it was everything else was kind of there. It didn't shock.
Okay.
I thought that was going to be a high scoring game. I'd say the Broncos. I mean, I did not expect them to come in and drop 33 on the road in New Orleans.
Okay. Hey, and also they beat New Orleans, right? That probably give you an extra.
It was tight. I was tight.
All right. Let's go with rookies. How are the rookies doing this year? Anyone stand out this year? I know Jaden Daniels went out, but anyone in his absence stand out otherwise? Like Malik Neighbors, man, where's he been?
Well, I mean, he was there. You just wouldn't know it because of his quarterback. He even said, go back and watch the tape. I was open. I know. Hey, Tank Bigsby, running back for the Jags. 26 carries, 118 yards, and 2 tutties.
Okay.
Hell of a game for him. And Buffalo, right? Their big acquisition was Amari Cooper, who did score a touchdown. But Keon Coleman, their number 1 pick, I think he was somewhere around the 25 to 28 range. First round pick, 4 catches, 125 yards.
Wow.
Came alive for the first time this season. You had, who else was out there? Brock Bowers, tight end for Las Vegas, continues to ball out. 10 catches for 93 yards. He's doing some historic things at the tight end position. And then I think that was it. I mean, everybody else was kind of, Jaden Daniels got hurt, and some of the other star performances are really just guys who are in there. So those are the standout rookies this week for me.
Okay. Now, as always, I give you the floor to decide, do we do RBA player, moment, team, or do we do Falcon Frenzy? Sir.
Let's go ahead and do the RBA. Okay. And I'm going to give it to a gentleman who was told to go out find your worth.
Mm.
But when you do, come back to me and I'll see if I can match it. Now, does that give you a lot of confidence?
Absolutely not.
Like, I'm not going to proactively pay you what you think you're worth. But if you go find somebody that will pay you what you think you're worth, right? Then just come back to me and give me a chance to match it.
So you know what that sounds like? Sounds like make me an offer I can't refuse, right?
Well, I mean, more so than that, it says like I'm only going to invest in you,
right? If somebody else feels there,
if somebody else does, because yeah.
So you don't believe in me, right? That's what tells me you don't believe in me. Why do I want to be here
at all? Like you don't believe in me at all, and so I'm going to give it to Saquon Barkley. On the season, right? He played the New York Giants, right? First time back in New York since they picked him up in free agency. On the season right now, he has 108 carries for 658 yards and 5 tutties. I mean, just a monster. In this game against the Giants, he had his best game of the season. He had 17 carries, 176 yards and a tutty. And so he was a couple yards shy of his career high. And there's like an audio clip of Sirianni and him talking on the bench. He's like, if you want it, we can go for it. Otherwise, I'm going to take these guys out in the fourth quarter because, again, they were dominating. And Saquon was like, nah, I'm good. Let the young guys cook, right? So it also goes to show, the type of player that he is. But, I mean, before this game, when you look at his yards per rush, it was like 2.6, 8.4, 8.6, 4.3, 4.5. Against the Giants, he averaged 10.4 a carry.
Sheesh. It's an automatic first down.
And he had a long of 55. And he also had 2 catches for 11 yards to add to it. But, yeah, I mean, just, again, going back to the team that basically discarded him. And it was broadcast on HBO for us all to watch it go down. I'm happy for him to go back and get that revenge game. I like a good, respectful revenge. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, absolutely.
He wasn't talking down. He wasn't getting out of pocket, right? He just said, okay, I'm playing my old team. I'm going to give them a little something extra, and I'm going to just run all over them all day. That's a respectful revenge that I can get behind.
No, absolutely. Absolutely. And I mean, this is what the Giants are good at, though. This is what they're good at. Yeah. Think about it. At one point, they had Odell. They had a prime Odell. They had Saquon. Right? They had a really decent team at one point. But what they do is they develop for others. So this is where you come get developed so others can take advantage. And the worst part is you traded this guy to a division rival. Like what are you thinking?
Well, they didn't trade him. They let him get picked up in free agency.
Oh, that's it. Okay. So like this could not have ended worse for you.
And everybody knew that if he left New York, that Philly was going to be the primary landing spot, right? So he's also from Pennsylvania. He went to Penn State. Like the stars were aligned. If you're New York, look, I'm opening up the checkbook. Like, what is it going to take? And I'm going to pay it because you can't. He's your best player. Like the owner said it in the Hard Knocks. He's in the conversation with the GM that they recorded. He's like, he's by far our best and most popular player, right? And you just let him walk for what? And now he came back and he ran all over you.
Well, he showed him what he's worth. He showed them what he's worth.
Correct. So congratulations to him.
Yeah, congrats to Saquon, for real. Always been a fan, still a fan. All right, sir, Falcon Frenzy, what's the deal?
There wasn't any frenzy to be had.
Oh, man.
There was no frenzy at all.
None?
It was, there was one bird that was celebrating, but it wasn't a falcon. It was a Seahawk. Yeah, it was an ugly game all the way around. I got nothing. Like, it just was bad. Okay. Bijan was good.
Okay.
21 carries, 103 yards. He had this one 20-something yard run where he lowered, as my youth football players say, the boomstick. He hit him with the boomstick, lowered his shoulder, and I think he lowered his shoulder and he got another 15 yards after contact with that.
Wow. Yeah,
no, I mean, Bijan was great, but the rest of the game sucked. I mean, turnovers, penalties, missed assignments on defense. It was just really bad. So there was no frenzy to be had. We got our, I'm trying to think of the PG word,
Mollywop?
That we got handed to us, right?
Got it.
we got handed to us on a silver platter, and it was bad. So yeah, no frenzy this week.
Well, there might be frenzy in trying to recover off of it, but wow. Okay.
They better respond to this because that was bad.
Okay, well then we'll just wait for next week. And now we're on to from the real world to the fake world. We transition.
So before that, right? We got to go to the.
Oh, my bad. I'm sorry. Well,
yeah.
What are you most excited for? Yeah. What are you excited about next week? Week 9, half point.
Yeah. So there's a couple of interesting matchups. One is Colts Texans, right? Texans are 5-2, Colts 4-3. This could be a first place in the division kind of game, right? So it's in Houston. So that one is one that I'm definitely gonna be looking out for. The other one that I'm gonna be looking out for is the Bills Seahawks. Bills are 5-2, Seahawks 4-3. Games in Seattle. Both teams are playing well. We got two good teams just kind of battling out with each other. The Cowboys 49ers is on the menu. You know, that's historically an interesting game, or a game that gets a lot of attention.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's going to be a good game or not. But how about this? And bruh, who would have thought before the season that I would say this? The Bears versus the Commanders. The Bears versus the Commanders.
Really?
Are you shocked?
Yeah.
Bears are 4-2, Commanders are 5-2, and then you've got, if he plays, Jaden Daniels versus Caleb Williams, the first and second overall picks, battling out for two teams that are both doing well this season. I mean, what more can you ask for, right?
Right. But you do need them to match up, though. So hopefully he's able to suit up.
Oh, please, football gods, give us this matchup. It's worthy of prime time, even though it's not in prime time. But it's because nobody thought before the season this would be the matchup to watch, but it is. Lastly, I'll just add to it Falcons Bucks, because number one is for first place in the division, right? And we're getting to that point. The calendar is starting to change to November. You know, the best teams are going to win in November, December, right? But you got to start separating yourselves. And so for me, as an Atlanta fan, right, like the Buccaneers, right, Mike Evans is out, I believe. I'm pretty sure he's out with the hamstring. He got hurt. And then for whatever reason, I know that there was controversy around it, right? Like the Bucs were still fighting at the end, and they had Baker and Chris Godwin in there, you know, with under a minute left, down 10 points. Chris Godwin, you know, dislocates his ankle, gone for the season. So no Evans, no Godwin. Like the Falcons got to win this game. And if we do, we put ourselves not only a game above in the division, but we'll also be 4-0 in the division with 2 wins against Tampa, who's our primary competition. So when you talk about tiebreakers and everything like that, it's almost a must-win game for Atlanta. You know, when you look at all of the factors that are involved, the guys that are out, and how, like, if you want to truly be the playoff team, the division winner, this is the game that creates the separation you need, right? Okay. That means you beat Tampa twice. You're 4-0 in the division. Like, all 3 losses have come against teams that are, 2 of them are AFC teams, and the other one was Seattle. So, like, you only have 1 loss in the conference. 4-0. If you win your division, like that's the key, right? If you can sweep your division, or you can go like 7-1, even 6-2, right? So the opportunity to go 4-0 in the division is huge, with another game against the Saints and another game against the Panthers upcoming. So to me, it's like a must-win game for Atlanta.
Well, we shall see.
We shall see.
All right, you ready to transition from real to fake? All right, real to fake.
Yeah.
All right, sir. So what's going on?
Well, last week we talked a little bit about some of the questionable trades that were coming through, and you said next week it'll all make a lot more sense. Yes. So I'm just waiting to see is that now, or are you going to tell me next after this week's games?
So there's actually some more conversations happening in the back end. So we're trying to figure some stuff out.
There's not another trade coming.
Potentially, we're working on some stuff here. So until the dust has settled, I can't speak on it.
So I'm only giving y'all a waiver because it's the first year, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I am very, very aware of that. So and I have communicated that to the other offices.
Because some of the other teams might be getting a little frustrated at the stacking.
Oh, I bet.
But that's all right because as I said, I don't think there's a team that can be put together to beat mine. So with that said, once again, I was the high scorer. I still could not get like sole first place because Dylan won as well. So we're both 5-2 right now. It's me and D 5-2, you and my brother-in-law 4-3, and then Tasia is 2-5, and my sister, her team just everybody hurt, so she's 1-6.
She seems to be the bye week.
Her only win was against me week 1 when everybody was, but that's when she had a full team, right?
Right.
Except for McCaffrey. She didn't have McCaffrey. But scoring-wise, I mean, I'm 200 points above D. I'm at 1991. He's at 1757, and he's the next closest, so nobody else is even close. I'm 360 almost, a way higher than you. Just for a reference. So, yeah, I mean, it was par for the course. Me and my brother-in-law were kind of neck and neck, and I beat him. At one point, I was up by over 100-something points. I had the highest scoring week, 280. D came in second with 258. He beat Tej by 30, and then you mollywopped my sister. So,
oh, did I? What was the score?
222 to 196.
Oh, that's not that big. Like 30, about 30-ish, 30 plus.
Yeah, I'll call it mollywop because she was the only one who didn't score 200. So,
you're gonna penalize her for that?
I am. So coming up this week, it's you versus me. So that'll be interesting because I'm 5-2, you're 4-3. I mean, well, you did trade away all your players to Taste, so I mean, you still have some guys in here.
I'm not at liberty to discuss that at this juncture.
Yeah. I'm just going to shake my head when I see it come through.
You probably will. So I think the rest of the teams will. I'm
projected to win right now by 40.
Okay.
D's playing my brother-in-law. He's projected to win, and then Tage has the highest projection. Me and him are within a point projection wise.
Got it. Oh, he's playing your sister?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So, but like at the end of the day, all that matters is those playoff weeks.
Correct.
So you talk about, and so I'm really not worried about it. I've got good matchups for all my players then, and
assuming everybody stays healthy.
Assuming everybody stays healthy, right? But I mean, I've also got depth too. So
yes. However, I've been on that side of the table as well, so I know.
Yeah. So we'll see. But as of right now, we're still rolling. We're still rolling through. So.
All right. Cool. Well,
that's it.
All right, man. Well, till next time. Thank you all for joining us. Think RBA.
Peace.
Mr. OK Chico. Peace.